Live, 5, 4, 3, 2.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a September edition of Mile High Hockey. He's Drew Spivak. I'm Will Peterson. We are live with you right now, one day after Avs Media Day, the first day of Avalanche training camp. Drew, let's just start with that. Man, it feels like we were just talking about Game 7 not that long ago against the Stars, and here we are, hockey season, more or less back.
It was a long, boring summer, like transactionally for the Avalanche, but it felt like a short summer, even though they only, they got knocked out, early May or whatever it was. It was a short summer. I'm glad to be back. It's awesome to be back and talking hockey again. It's great to see my Twitter timeline flooded today with training camp stuff, media day stuff yesterday. It's awesome to be back talking hockey again.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. We'll get into training camp a little bit, but let's start with media day because they brought up all the big dogs, and I appreciate the Avalanche for doing that. You had head coach Jared Bednar, Nathan MacKinnon, Gabriel Landeskog, Cale Makar, Devontae's, Martin Necas. We got to hear from the people folks want to hear from, and I want to start with the captain because I thought Jared Bednar's answer was obviously encouraging and great, but also maybe a tick surprising. He said that Gabriel Landeskog will be, quote, a full go this regular season. He said it twice. He didn't put an outline on the number of games necessarily, but I got the vibe that in a perfect world, Gabe's playing 75 to 80 games. Now, he did say, of course, if he comes to me and the knee is sore or whatever, we'll get him off his feet. We'll get him off the ice. But any vet on the team could do that to Jared Bednar. He's not going to run these guys in the ground in the regular season. It's all about the postseason. But I'm just curious your thoughts on this expectation that we had conversations about this guy retiring, and all of a sudden, Drew, he is full go for the 25-26 regular season.
I don't think there was anything that Jared Bednar could have said that would have been any better news than hearing that. The game is full go, no restrictions. It's all going to just come down to how he's feeling basically on a day-to-day basis. I think kind of going into this thing, I was wondering if that was going to be the case, if he was maybe going to take back-to-backs off, because I think the Avs have, 16 back-to-backs this year? Maybe that's still the case. Maybe he does end up taking back-to-backs. But I think it's such an encouraging sign that he's feeling good. He's feeling great, ready to go for the season. The fact that they're saying, all right, hey, it's full go. You're going to be good to go throughout the entire season. I just wonder how many games is he actually going to end up playing? Because I was looking back at, kind of some of his numbers and thinking, all right, when was the last time that Gabe Landeskog played 82 games? I think he said it once in his career. To expect Gabe to play more than, 65, 70 games to me would kind of be optimistic. I feel like we're probably in the range of more, maybe like 55, 60 games. And I think that would be okay. As long as he is healthy, I think once the Avs get to the playoffs, and if he can look the way he did, the way we saw him in the playoffs last year, to me, that would be like a win-win scenario. As long as he's not sitting out extended periods of time, maybe he misses a game here, a game there, whatever, not a big deal. Just I don't want to see him missing any extended periods of time. That would be the thing that would be most concerning for me.
Yeah, obviously, if there's a setback or anything of that nature, we're all going to be holding our breath. But I think it just goes to show you, too, he finally got the surgery he needed.
Yeah.
I mean, Gabe Landeskog had a ton of different surgeries. He eventually opts for the cartilage replacement. Nathan MacKinnon even said, I don't know, about a year ago this time, he finally got what he needed. And yes, the recovery was long and it was painful and it was 3 years missing the regular season. But I'm not going to sit here and say Gabe's going to play 6 or 7 more years. I think that's unrealistic. But Drew, I'm just sort of pleasantly shocked that it now feels like Gabriel Landeskog, again, we're knocking on all the wood, can play 2, 3, 4 more years in the NHL.
That's kind of what it feels like to me. You got probably about a 2 to 4 year window of where you're going to see Gabe Landeskog. What is he, 32 now, I think he is? So at that range, if you can get him to 34, 35, 36, I think you would feel really good about this team's chances to maybe go out and win another Stanley Cup with the core that this team's got. I think production-wise, I think he's going to be fine. I can't wait to see him playing on a line with Brock Nelson for an entire season, because I know that statistically it didn't really show up in the playoffs in the Dallas series. But if you just watched in the eye test, show me that, hey, that is going to be a really good line with those two guys playing together, whether it's Lehkonen, whether it's Val on the other side of on the other wing. I don't think it's really going to matter that much. I'm just excited to see him with Brock Nelson and just see him play a competitive season and just come back and be the Gabe that we kind of know and love, playing that power forward type role, getting in front of the net, being good on the power play, being that physical presence. If we can get all that stuff out of Gabe Landeskog this year, I think Avalanche fans are going to be more than happy.
Yeah, and more than happy would be a deep playoff run, because they have only won one playoff series since hoisting the cup in 2022. And a big theme yesterday, Drew, was the sense of urgency. I asked Jared Bednar about it, and he said, oh, yeah, there's a big sense of urgency. Nathan MacKinnon said, if we only got one cup with this core, it would be tough. That was the word he used, sort of knowing that you look around almost all sports, all the great athletes have at least 2 titles to their names, with some noticeable exceptions, of course, but that sort of seems to be a dividing line. And then Cale Makar told me, yeah, we want to win the Stanley Cup. That being said, it's going to be a long journey to get there. What do you make of this? Not necessarily cup or bust dynamic, but also guys not shying away from, it's time for the Avalanche to reach the mountaintop or at least come really darn close once again.
I love that that's the mindset, because it felt like, and I think Nathan MacKinnon said it, like, the loss to Dallas from last year still stings. It's going to hurt. It's probably going to hurt for a while. And I think when you look at, over the course of this core's run, the way that just the disappointing playoff exits, that's kind of compounded, I think, the sense of urgency for this team. Losing to Vegas, after going up 2-0 in that series, the Seattle series, the way that it went down with, Val Nichushkin, then losing to Matt Duchene in Dallas 2 years ago, and then the way it went down last year. I mean, just talk about ripping your guts out and throwing them on the table. It's just, it's heartbreaking to see the way things have gone for this team. But I love the sense of urgency, because I think we all do feel it around here that they may not say it, they probably will never say it, but I think most of us look at it and say, this is a Stanley Cup or bust type year, not only for, the players on the team, but for Jared Bednar. He's got to go out and they got to make at least a run, I would say, to the Western Conference Finals to feel like you are completely safe in this job. I know Joe Sakic is patient. He doesn't like to, pull a lot of strings, and, he kind of lets things play out. But this team cannot afford to go out early this year if Jared Bednar wants to keep his job, if Chris McFarland wants to keep his job, with everything that happened with the Mikko Rantanen thing last year. Things have kind of got to go their way, and it's all going to start with, all right, can this team stay healthy? If they can stay healthy for an entire season, this is a roster and a team that I feel like can go 115, 118 points and easily win the Central Division. I know you've got talent in that division. The Jets, we'll see what happens with the loss of Nikolai Ehlers. Dallas, I don't know what to make of that team this year. I know you got Rantanen back, but talked about trading Jason Robertson in the offseason. They got a new head coach. So we're going to see how that all plays out. Minnesota, you got Kaprizov, his contract situation. So there's a lot of different variables to me on how the season is going to play out in the Central. But to me, you look at this Avalanche roster and say, this is a team that is locked and loaded, especially in that top 6, maybe even that top 9. You say, this is a team that should no doubt make a run to at least the conference finals, if not further.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think that will be the expectation. And one of the other themes of the day yesterday was the Avalanche feeling settled, right? We heard that from Gabe Landeskog. We heard it from Cale Makar. We heard it from Devon Toews as well. I think they're just really glad that there's not going to be this big roster shuffling. Almost half the roster was turned over from day one of training camp last year to game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And this is it. This is going to be the core. Now, I'm not sitting here saying this is the entire roster. Of course, they'll probably make a deal or two, maybe something minor here and there. But the guys, I got the sense, Drew, feel like McFarland, Sakic, they're comfortable with this core. And this core is either going to get it done or they're not, but they're not going to do something crazy like they did last year with 9 trades. Now, again, I think some of those trades were necessary, particularly in the goaltending position. I think others weren't. We don't have to get into that, but there's no way that the Avalanche are making headlines for trade after trade after trade like they were a season ago.
Well, think about all the questions that we've had over the last couple of years with this team. Is the goaltending good enough? Can Val Nichushkin stay out of trouble? When is Gabe Landeskog coming back? There's just been question after question every offseason that we frankly never really got a lot of answers to until last year. Val seems like everything's going well with him. Gabe is healthy for all intents and purposes. He's healthy. We think we have the goaltending situation solved, even though I know Mackenzie Blackwood dealing with a little bit of an injury, something to kind of watch. We don't know what the injury is, obviously, but something to watch going out through the season. So you go into camp here and you think, all right, what are the question marks on this roster? Who's going to be the 3C? I mean, that feels like the biggest question for this team.
And I think Jack Drury is good enough to be the 3C, by the way.
I think he is too. If he can provide more of a punch offensively, like I love his game defensively. I love what he does at the faceoff dot. Can he provide more of a punch offensively? I think playing with Ross Colton and playing with Victor Olofsson, who I think was a great signing in the offseason, I think that's only going to add to this roster. So you're looking at that top 9, you're feeling good. The 4th line, we'll see what happens. It's one of those that can kind of be interchangeable. If you need to go and add depth at the trade deadline or some point throughout the season, you're going to do it. It's going to be fine. But I love the fact that there are really no questions other than who's going to be the permanent 3C. I mean, maybe on the back end, it's like, okay, what does Josh Manson have left in the tank? Sam Girard, it sounds like they've been trying to move him for the last couple of years. What happens with that? Can Keaton Middleton kind of make a little bit of a jump? What happens with Sam Malinsky? Is he going to make a jump? Brent Burns, adding him to the blue line. That's huge for me. Adding a guy with that veteran type presence, the guy that takes up a lot of space. He's not the most physical player in the world. He's not the best defensive-minded defenseman in the world, but that dude is a veteran who knows how to win hockey games, and he's going to be a great addition to the power play. There's so many things to be excited for when you look up and down this roster. And the best part is, again, like there's not questions. There's not anything that we're like, oh man, if this goes right, this is, you know, they can make a run this way. Most of the questions have been answered, and it's reassuring knowing that going into the season.
It doesn't have to be a perfect storm for them to win the whole thing.
No.
Last thing we'll get on before we get out of here, Martin Necas. Maybe he is the question. You're talking about
right.
questions. He was asked about his contract situation yesterday and said, I don't know. My agent and the team are talking, but I don't know. Good way to dodge the question. He did at least confirm that the organization and Necas' camp are in talks. To me, it's a little deja vu-y with Rantanen. You got a high-powered player going into the last season of his deal where, quite frankly, you probably either have to extend him or trade him. You can't let him walk next summer for nothing. Drew, the vibe I get, not a report, just a vibe, is that Martin Necas will sign an extension. I'll say by, I don't know, the end of December, New Year's Eve or so would be my gut. Get that settled with still a couple months before the trade deadline. I think the Avs will give him about $10 million a season, and I think he'll be here for the next 4, 5, 6 years. Where do you stand on Necas? Do you want an extension? Are you open to exploring a trade? Your thoughts as we kind of address sort of one of the last missing pieces, if you will, on this team.
Yeah, I think the way that everything went down with Mikko last year, the Avs cannot afford to put themselves in that situation again. So I think you nailed the date right on the head. I think by the time we get to New Year's Eve, this has got to be settled one way or another, because you can't afford to get in January and February, March with this contract situation still lingering. I did love the fact that Netch said yesterday that, you know, he feels like his game is a perfect fit for this roster. And I truly believe that it is. I mean, how could it not be? You get to play alongside Nathan MacKinnon all year. He could legitimately be a 100-point player this year if he can stay healthy throughout the entire season. You know, guys always tend to play better in a contract year anyway. I think for the Avs, it's going to be paramount to get this thing done as soon as possible, because if he ends up being a 100-point player, guess what? It's going to cost you more
Right.
the longer you wait. So if you can get him, my guess is he's probably going to end up in that $10 to $12 million per year range. I'm okay with that. You just don't want him to have an unbelievable type season to where you're going above 12, 12 and a half, 13 million. You don't want to get to that point the way this roster's set up, especially with knowing that, hey, come next July 1st, you're going to have to pay Cale Makar. And that's going to be a hefty price tag as well. But I think his head's in the right space. I think they'll get it done. I don't think it's going to be that much of a concern. Now, again, if we come back to January 1st, this thing's not done, then it starts to become a question mark that I don't think we want to be dealing with when you're in a Stanley Cup or bust type season.
Yeah, no, I think they need to get it figured out sooner rather than later. Again, I don't think the players want him to get traded because I think they like the settled nature of this. But my gut, it'll be one or the other. I lean about 90% extension, 10% trade as we sit here today. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Mile High Hockey. Appreciate Drew Spivak sitting in as always. Our new producer, Dan, behind the scenes, doing a great job. And we'll be back sooner rather than later. The regular season is right around the corner. We'll see you next time on Mile High Hockey.